There are certainly many perks to being a Kingsman.
But of course, trying to achieve that title of Kingsman is another goal altogether. But you've got a certain drive, a certain flair that I like. So I've got 3 tips for you to achieve that mighty goal of becoming a Kingsman. So let's begin with tip number 1. You must be a gentleman at all times and in all places, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing. Because we can save the world, but if we're not kind or generous in our day-to-day lives, what are we even doing? How can we call ourselves Kingsmen? Moving on to tip number 2, you've got to dress like a gentleman. If we're going to be gentlemen, we might as well dress like them too. If we're gonna go about saving the world, we might as well look great while we're doing it. Alright, tip number 3, you've got to keep yourself in top physical condition. Because the last thing that the Queen needs and the world needs is somebody who can't run a mile but expects to save millions of people. Doesn't make any sense, right? Exactly. Now, let's go over those 3 tips again. Always be a gentleman, always dress like a gentleman, and always keep yourself in top physical condition. With those 3 tips and a little bit of luck, you should be well on your way to becoming not only the Queen's best, but becoming a Kingsman.
Why the suit and tie? It's a Kingsman review. It's gotta happen. So Kingsman the Secret Service surrounds a character played by Taron Edgerton, who's a young man, he's a rascal, going around causing trouble, and then he one day gets visited by Colin Firth, who tells him, you know what kid, you've got spunk. You might be exactly what we're looking for, so he brings Taron Edgerton in to become a Kingsman. Basically another version of MI6, and they are complete gentlemen to the core. If they see someone bullying or picking on somebody, they will go up to that person, break their leg, and knock a tooth out. Trust me, you watch the movie, you will get what I'm saying here. And they also need to go up against Samuel L. Jackson, who's got this really strange, hilarious lisp in this movie. And of course, he brings all of his Samuel L. Jackson Pulp Fiction hilarity to this movie. And the movie itself is actually pretty dang awesome. And I just remembered this movie came out in 2014, very much like the Lego movie did. Man, 2014 was a really good year for film. And guys, if you couldn't already tell, I love Kingsman the Secret Service. Every aspect of it is great. First of all, the violence in this movie is completely stylized, completely over the top. In fact, the way Matthew Vaughn directed this, it reminds me kind of Quentin Tarantino's level of violence, and it was absurdly entertaining to see on screen. Characters' heads would explode and rainbows would come out. I mean, it's hilarious. Wow, that was morbid, but hey, it's true. Also, everybody in this film did a really phenomenal job. Already mentioned Samuel L. Jackson, Taron Edgerton, but man, we gotta talk about the Firth. Why do I call him the Firth? Look at that guy! Look at that suit! There's nothing better than that! This is probably the best performance that I've ever seen Colin Firth give, and I loved him in The King's Speech, but this is something else entirely. And the story for this movie was actually really cool too. The best way I could describe it, it's like you took all the old good James Bond films and you transferred them into a very modern era, with more stylized violence, more modern dialogue, and just a more modern take on MI6 and 007. And Matthew Vaughn directed the heck out of this movie for sure. Guys, not a long review here, but it's simply because I don't want to spoil this movie. This is a film that I actively persist that you go out and you seek to watch, because it's absurdly entertaining. If you don't already know, it's based off of a comic book, so it's a cool spin on the comic book genre, and it's a cool updated version of 007 and James Bond. And guys, if you didn't know, Kingsman the Secret Service is suit worthy. But as always, it is what you guys say that matters. So have you seen Kingsman the Secret Service? And what did you think of it? Most importantly, what is your favorite aspect of Kingsman the Secret Service? Whatever you may think, leave a comment down below telling me your thoughts. And if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right there and subscribe and become part of the fray of nerds who love cinema. You all have a fantastic day.